around Kingston at third, Glen Lodge fourth.
Perfect mix of poetry and destruction. This glory of rhythm, power and majesty. The undisputed champion of the world, Frankel, wins the Juddmonte International. The Stars comes alongside Master Craftsman, eyeballs it and goes on. And it's 4 Group 1s.
And a massive warm welcome to the Bar Stewards Inquiry Ebor Weekend Preview Podcast. And with me this evening is no special guest. We've got no special guest for you. He's horizontal somewhere in York. It's a disappointment. We've done our very best, but the proceedings this week have got the better of him, and unfortunately he can't make the show. But I'm sure we'll get him on soon. I'm pretty sure about that at some point. So with me tonight, ample replacement though. Did the preview show earlier this week. Very much a bar steward. He's Andy Richmond, Bickley14 on Twitter, and as always, my partner in crime, John Ling of John Joe's Blogspot. Gents, how are we after our fantastic day in York yesterday? All good today?
It was a good day. Thank you. It was a really good day from the bar.
Really enjoyed it.
Meat-infused day towards the end. It was excellent. Copious amounts of meat in the Brazilian restaurant, which I think we can give a thorough recommendation to.
Absolutely. John, the minted lamb was a nap, was it not?
If I could remember the name of the place, I'd give it a big shout out.
Estabulo.
Estabulo, yeah.
Yeah.
That's the chap.
That's at the Vanguard in York. So if anyone's in York and at the Ebor tomorrow and you're thinking you want a big feast before you go, I'm away from the crowds because it's not in the centre of York. And it's very accessible still by taxi back to the station. If you want a big meat feast, Estabulo is the place to end up. You won't be disappointed.
And the minted lamb is definitely the dot on the card.
I was so impressed. I mean, I've done these before. I've done one in. I think I've done one in Cardiff. I've done one in the Borough, and this one stood out for me because I think the range of meats, not just the quality of them, but the range of them, the pork belly, the minted lamb, the rump, the fillet, the sirloin. I think was there spiced ribeye or something so something like that. It's absolutely spot on. We got meat sweats, everything, and it ended a fantastic day. Except, I mean, you're tremendous. Enjoyed the day and atmosphere and some great chat. But I mean that woman that stole your drink, Andy.
Despicable. Don't get me started on that little bitch.
Paul Daniels' sleight of hand, wasn't it?
I mean, to describe to our listeners here that this was incredible. Really, Andy had gone to see some former colleagues and friends, and he toddled off downstairs, and like you do, and with that time of day when everyone's getting a bit raucous, and chairs are getting stolen and nicked, and because obviously women get tired at that point of the day. The high heels hurt at that point of the day, so naturally we let a few women sit down when someone. But this one particular lady, she sat down in Andy's chair, never bothered to move his stuff either, and obviously Andy's champagne sat there on the table, full as well. And she put her handbag strategically in front of the champagne. I watched that bit, and then my attention had gone. I think I looked at my phone on Betfair or something. And literally, I'd say about 10 seconds later, she got up, walked off, sat in another chair. Andy's glass isn't there. She just literally walked off with Andy's drink, supping Andy's drink. I mean, whoever owns that woman, divorce immediately. That's it. If that was that, I can't have that. That was just disgraceful behaviour. John was disgusted. I even turned to John in disbelief. I said, did she just take that drink? And he went, yeah. It was an incredible. The handbag was covering the swift getaway.
I'm guessing that's not the first time she's done that either.
No, it's an old trick. That wily old fox she was. Yeah. I mean, but I'd say sort of my age, sort of mid to late 40s. Probably been to about 50 of these, and definitely thought, well, instead of paying the price of I don't think you can get glasses of champagne. You had to buy the bottle. She thought, she was in and saw the opportunity and had the bar stewards over. That's the thing. the bar stewards have been had. So we did have a fantastic day. And a connection to that is a question from Andrew Woodman, Councillor Woodman, I should repeat. And he says, opinion, chaps, on the music played for the winning horses at York this week. And if you were an owner, what song would you choose? Andy, I'll come to you first.
I've got a couple of corkers. It might upset a few people. I think I'd probably try and put the Sex Pistols on and play Anarchy at the BHA. And if either of the Escobars win the Ebor, my suggested music to walk into would be either Golden Brown by the Stranglers or White Lines by Melly Mel. That'll be with the obvious connection there. So those would be my suggestions anyhow. But I would like a bit of Anarchy at the BHA. I think that would probably upset a few people.
Absolutely superb, yeah. I mean, I was laughing at Gosden's, I think, the other day. I don't know if they picked them or what. Yeah, bit of hot chocolate. Everyone's a winner, bit. I thought, interesting on that one. John, what would your song of choice be?
Anything by the Grateful Dead.
Okay. I don't know what I'd choose, to be honest. If you, do we know, are these owners allowed to choose?
I've not got a clue. Not found out yet. You can't find anything else.
Or trainers allowed to choose? Because if someone's just on the turntable, we were there on Wednesday, and there was some weird choices. I think it was like ABBA for one of them. It wasn't even a good ABBA song.
Not even for Takes It All.
No, it
the
wasn't that.
obvious one, wasn't it?
I forget which one it was, but it was. Might have been like, I don't know. If anyone's there Wednesday, you can perhaps mention what it was. But it was ABBA, and it wasn't Winner Takes It All. And so I found that a bit odd, because me and John kept staring at each other and doing that, that like with scrunching lips up, going, "What is this?" Yeah. So just an interesting thing that York's added in here for these horses coming into these songs. But good question, Andrew. Faster Than Light's been on, and he said, how was all your punting week so far at York? Andy, how have you done on the whole so far? Is it profitable?
It got better today because I finally sold the York handicap with the previously recalcitrant rifleman, who I think has improved for having his nuts chopped off.
Fair point.
Still not sure that Ryan Moore would be smiling, but he got him home in fine style. Yeah, it wasn't a bad afternoon today. Yesterday was a bit sort of hit and miss. I mean, the first day I had 4 horses trade 1.2 or less and all got beaten. So it's got better, and I'm hoping it will get better tomorrow with the shag and shirt double.
Absolutely, yeah. That's to come later in the show for the tipping part of the show, where we've got to contend with all the elements tomorrow and still line your pockets with silver. So we've all got to get through that. That's later in the show. John, how was your punting week on the whole? I think you've done quite well. Am I right?
It hasn't been that bad. Thick Dave helped me out enormously yesterday. Cross turn. I think I might send Dave a bath alone a shirt with a 14 on. Just cheer him up a bit. I mean, that was a tremendous performance, both from horse and jockey. Actually, he could have very easily let it come home in its own time after it was headed, because there was no way he was battling back past that thing that went past him, and Dave refused to accept that. Maybe because he's thick. But anyway, great performance. Highly delighted with that. Couple of others. I mean, I managed to float the beer in the Voltiger. I mean, I'm all right. I mean, tomorrow's key, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's been that sort of week for me. I've obviously done no good on the selections, on the bar stewards. What dug me out, but I had a terrible first day, real terrible. And what got it all back from the first day was the Thick Dave and Cruyff turn. I was astonishing. Didn't really expect it to win. Not like you don't watch a race with a 40-1 chance with expectation, but I was hopeful of a decent run, and I think it was an amazing performance because the Sylvester Kirk horse headed Cruyff turn must have gone 3/4 of a length up at the furlong pole, and then Dave rousted it, got it back up, and then along come Gosden and Dettori on Magical Morning. You think, well, they're going to mow it down, and no. It found more and more. It was tremendous, and that was a real good feeling because, when you're not having the best of weeks, it's all very helpful. Today, obviously, my best bet Royal Fleet. When I checked the draw stats, just to confirm what I initially thought, that wide draws over the mile at York, it's extremely difficult to win Royal Fleet today. So I didn't back Royal Fleet primarily because of the draw reason. 5 from 320. 16 plus at York since the dawn of time, 1997, and so that and obviously not much has come down the stand side this week, chaps, has it?
No.
Anything that's on that flank, anything that's sort of peeled off or sort of. I mean, what John? What was that? What was that horse yesterday that ran real well in the? Was it the nurse?
The Owen Burrows one that Jim rode.
Yeah. Because me and John were watching him this morning, and we said, "Geez, the winner did win. Harrow won with quite a little bit in hand, but Jim's horse on the Handham horse, that did ever so well because it came from that flank position that no one likes all week, made really good late ground and didn't get beat very far. But I forget the name off the top of my head. It was anyway. You can check that in the results. It was third. Well, no, dead eated for second."
Was it the
it was something like
Burrows horse?
Yeah.
Owen Burrows horse. I think Alfailat.
Alfailat
horse. Something.
The Dark Angel horse. Yeah, it did run very well from. Yeah, that was out of draw 16. If they haven't, I always adjust the draw, but there were 16 of 16 there. But so from that wide draw, it has run pretty well. And considering the bit of track it was on as well, and to say nothing really came down that side today. Berkshire Shadow, that got done by the draw as well, probably. Although I'm not sure it's quick enough for that trip, but it does seem to be. If you look down the track, that sort of right-hand side does seem to be better at the moment, and the strip you want to be on. But there are various weather warnings around at the moment. There is a Met Office weather warning out for tomorrow for thunderstorms. So where they hit could be anybody's luck. So keep an eye on that.
Absolutely, and that's the quandary. I mean, sort of, me and John touched on this earlier on today, where when you get a lot of rain at York in a day, and there could be as much as 16 mils tomorrow. Not maybe by the end of racing, but there could be around 16 mils if all the elements click into place. I said to John, I said, then John, because they've been sort of middle to far and not much has come down the stands rail, so they've opened the ground up middle to far side. So obviously then that's why when they come stand side, it's better ground because that ground's not being opened up and it's taking the moisture's taking longer to get in. Do you subscribe to that, Andy?
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, it's something you just got to if you, I've already obviously had some bets, so it's sort of you just got to pray a bit and hope that it works out. But you do have to react to these situations. And I think after a couple of weeks, even after watching the first 2 days and then watching today, I wasn't particularly keen on anything drawn high today and in sprints hit there anyhow. But after watching the first couple of races, I was even less keen. And it was quite strange how the French filly was well backed in the Nunthorpe. Whether she could go whether she could go that pace or not, the pace they went at is another matter. And I actually think she probably is the best horse, works out one of the better horses at the weight, if not the best horse at the weight, considering the way she finished off the race, and I certainly wouldn't write her off for races like the Abbey or something like that later in the year, with a bit of cut in the ground. I think she actually ran pretty well, but there was no way she was going at early pace, and I do think she was on the worst part of the track. But I think if you need to go back and have a look at the races, and I think you probably judge it in context of how that ground was riding there today. And I certainly would be trying to mark up a little bit anything that was raced stand side over anything that raced on the far side. But as you say, it could all change tomorrow. And if it has, and the ground on the far side has obviously been opened up more, if it does rain, then I think we'll probably see everyone migrating to the stand side. But the if is it going to rain?
Absolutely. I mean, it's now saying 90% chance from sort of 1 p.m. on dark skies. Obviously, we're going to get drizzle as well, I think, throughout the morning. Nothing maybe serious, but a little bit of rain odds on before racing. But the real stuff's supposed to come throughout the card.
I think the one good thing we have seen this week, at least we've had 3 days on some good, quick, unwatered ground.
Absolutely, and this brings Ian Davis in, who says standard times have been broken 3 times and the world hasn't imploded. Have the Northern Monkeys at York races given these soft, literally Southerners, he did say expletives, bastards, an object lesson in how to deliver summer ground, the going of the gods, or have they just got lucky with the weather? What do we think, chaps?
It's both, probably.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think William Darby's always been that reluctant to turn the taps on. So, I mean, let's just thank our lucky stars we've had what we've had, really, because after the season we've had with a lot of these festival meetings where they have watered the hell out of it before it started. I mean, this could have quite easily gone the same way given the weather forecast. I think we probably got lucky with his stick raiding. I think the stick raidings maybe misled him a bit, and he thought it was a little bit easier than it actually was.
Yeah,
no bad thing.
It fooled me. It fooled me.
I mean, I didn't expect it to ride as quick as it did the first day, so it's probably put him away a bit. Good,
I mean, Andy, do we think that Clark's now? It's weird because we're not used to seeing racehorses at festival meetings, especially in modern times, run really fast times anymore. It seems as if we water for 2 seconds slow or 2.5 seconds slower than standard, and it's just nice sometimes to see all standards being broke now and again.
It was, wasn't it? I mean, it was even some discussion, and I don't think it was going to be happening at all, that the track record might go in an unthought today. And I don't think that was going to particularly happen. That was probably a function of type of some of the horses who were in that particular race, but and it didn't happen. But it was nice to see a good quick time run there. It is nice to see a festival on good, or any meeting on good quick ground without being tampered. The only rein I would put on is I accept that sometimes you probably need to do a little bit over the jumps, certainly in the summer if we're gonna go down that road. But I'll just to us all intents and purposes, can we leave it to the good Lord in future to water courses? That would be the best way, and just get on with it, because although my one thought is that we've probably now gone so far down the road of ruining water tables and making them so artificially high that you'd probably need to leave the taps off for about 2 or 3 years to get it back to the levels we were.
Yeah, amen to that. Just one more thing before we go on to the tipping. I was very surprised to see Batash paraded in front of the stands. A couple of reasons, really. The horse has always been a complete nutcase for many a year, and I just didn't see the upside in taking. I mean, it's at the races. The horse might be, but I presume he's probably been put on some lower grade feed by now. Obviously, he's not in training, but nevertheless, I didn't really see the point of it. I don't think he's like a people's horse, if you like. I don't think even though he's been a very, very good horse over time. Didn't really see the point of that personally. I mean, all I can remember Batash for is letting me down for plenty in one of the Nunthorpes. I don't know what you guys think on that, but I thought it was pretty pointless, John.
He's not a superstar sprinter, is he? No. You know, Oasis, Jane Deja, any of them, you know, Stravinsky. Yeah, oh yeah, it's Batash for Christ's sake.
Just took me aback that it wasn't like it was a standing dish at York where it was that's my point. It was quite. I mean, if it was going to be anywhere a standing dish, it'd be Goodwood.
Siapo win 3 of these.
Not sure. Your memory's better than me on this, but yeah. I see where you're coming from. I mean,
to be fair to York lads, they do get an awful lot right as well, and that might not have been down to them. I mean, for instance, tomorrow, courtesy of I think Nick Luck mentioned this on television that, or it might have actually been Michael Shinnis from Sky Bet that all the connections or all the families of all the jockeys riding the Ebor tomorrow have all got a box there. Which is, excellent sort of PR. I know they're doing a thing around. I think they had a vote for 80, was it, Yorkshire sort of heroes throughout the pandemic. They picked 22. Each of them's drawn a runner. If it wins, if they've got like a sweepstake, if theirs wins, they get £5,000 and 15 grand for the charity. So they do an awful lot. I don't think they do an awful lot wrong, York, do they?
No.
Attention to detail. Bits and pieces like that. I mean, it is, a good class race course. I mean, I really enjoyed the day there yesterday, and I think it's a pretty well run operation. Was that down to them yesterday inviting Batash there? Could have been a BHA thing for all we know.
Could have been. Could have been. I mean,
if Jeff Boycott didn't get nominated as one of the Yorkshire heroes, maybe it got a prize.
He'd have run someone out, probably.
I think sitting where we were sat on that terrace bar, if they just chopped that tree down near where the wave room, that would have been lovely. But they put a big TV up and a big tree in there for some reason. Anyway, there we go.
We could have done with Boycott where we were sat anyway. They probably knocked the shit out of the class when she.
Could do with him now in the current test team. He couldn't do a lot of worse.
John, I think I'll tell you what was required yesterday afternoon. Our friend Big Gaz with his chainsaw to come and take that tree out halfway through the day. Just so we can watch Thick Dave on Cruyff Turn. I didn't remember much of that live, but anyway, there we go. Right, on to the tipping part of the show, where we will certainly do our best to make you some money on Saturday's fair, the TV races. I think it's a disgrace that we're going to Sandown for TV races. It should be all about York tomorrow. It's a festival. Forget Sandown, waste of time. But anyway, we'll cover it. 205 Sandown, it's the Betway Solario Stakes, a Group 3 affair, where Reach for the Moon for John and Slim is it's a half arm on chance. Very, very short there. John, any view on the Solario?
I'm not playing against that thing.
You like it, don't you?
Yeah, I think it's a nice horse. I think Grady Betty's probably got a derby horse there, so I'm just going to watch in anticipation of a nice performance.
Okie dokie. I mean, John doesn't like the chalk too often. If John can take on the chalk, he usually takes it on. So with John saying he likes the chalk there, he's watching though. It's a pait race. Or did you buy some of that herring stuff today?
I did. I got the mushed up herring and the roll mops.
Oh God, that's the producer of this show. Actually, would be in her element with that, I think. But yeah, so very good. Yeah, she enjoys a bit of that. Bit of herring. Andy, your view on the Solario?
Probably rowing with Johnny. We've gone all blogger, haven't we?
We need to from time to time.
It would be a race that would be interesting. There was one other horse in the race I'm actually interested in, Cresta, who I think was a nice horse. It was a nice debut. Slow away, got a bump leaving the stalls. I thought he actually did pretty well to pass an odds-on favourite, who was more experienced than him in modern games. There should be a cliche time, a bit more to come from him. I thought in the context of if you're looking for something for a forecast or maybe in the sort of place markets without favourite markets, I thought Cresta was a little bit overpriced, but it wouldn't be a, you know, I wouldn't, yeah, it's for want of filling some air there.
Whatever happened to
yeah.
Cresta? You used to be able to get Cresta.
Yeah, Cresta Bear. I think there's probably a bit too much sugar content in it, John, these days.
It's frothy, man. That was
That's the one.
Phrase, wasn't it?
Mm.
Yeah, I miss Cresta. Sorry.
Good stuff. Cresta, just a mention for Andy, by New Bay, who's certainly a new freshman sire. That's certainly, current stud fee around €20,000. I can see that going up for New Bay in the future. He's certainly doing the biz at the moment. An interesting runner for Martin Mead and Richard Kingscote there, just for anyone searching out.
If you look at New Bay's record with his second time out runners, it actually does very, very well. Just one of those, maybe a statistical glitch, but they do pretty well. It'd be interesting to see him run again. I thought it was a nice performance. Whether he's good enough to beat the favourite or not is another matter.
Check out those place-only markets and forecasts, because we do, all three of us, like the favourite, but obviously priced accordingly. On to the second-rate TV race at Sandown. It's the Mile Betway Atalanta Stakes, a Group 3 affair. Not bad prize money for this, to be fair. 80,000 guaranteed. You know, we're very critical of the prize money this year, but 45,000 purse to the winner is certainly worth winning. Indigo Girl heads the market at 100 to 38 for, again, John and Slim. Could be a John and Slim double. Andy, thoughts on this?
I thought there were a few that were overpriced in this. I almost want to take on John and Slim here. It's probably a little bit too big to take on at sort of around 7 to 2, but you could back 2 or 3. There's 2 or 3 against it here that you could give a pretty decent chance to. Aurea certainly takes the eye for the balding man, who's having a very, very good season. She won that Coral Distaff last month, and she's trying to emulate Strawberry, Daiquiri and Integral, who dead heated when completing that course and distance double. I thought she looked pretty progressive last time. She's actually been given a Group 1 entry since then, which could be indicative of better to come. So I certainly thought she was a little bit overpriced. And I certainly thought that Waliak was another one who was a little bit bigger than she ought to be, along with Saffron Beach, who was only, a length behind Mother Earth in the 1,000 Guineas, a length in front of Alcohol Free. Okay, she failed to match that form in the Falmouth, but her spring form was Sacred. That got a boost in the Hungerford Stakes. Stable's in pretty good nick. Thought she was a little bit overpriced as well. Sort of race, if you wanted to take on Indigo Girl rather than laying her, you might just want to try and duck a couple against her and play it that way. And the couple I'd sort of stick in would be Aurea and probably Saffron Beach. And if you wanted to stick in a third, it'd be Waliak's. Not my sort of race really, but that's just sort of an idea of how to play it. I thought the favourite was a little bit short, to be honest with you. The form doesn't look rock solid. Taking on the Slim and Slim Senior.
Good stuff, Andy. Good analysis. Aurea with the Group 1 Sun Chariot entry for the informed balding and the probably champ-elect again, Oisin Murphy. It's around the 11 to 2 mark. John, your thoughts on this?
I don't think it's a great race to be having a bet in, to be honest. I think Waliak could run a nice race, as could the Oisin machine. I was a bit surprised Kingscote hasn't picked Potapova out of the 2 stout horses. I thought she might redeem herself after the run on rotten ground in the Coronation Stakes. I thought that was a big ask after she'd only run on top of the ground and all weather prior to that. I mean, she hosed up on Redcar quick, which, makes what we've had at York this week look like a swamp. So she could be a lot better back on faster ground, but the market hasn't missed. Pat Dobbs is pretty nigh on useless. I don't particularly want to back him on anything. So I think it's a no bet race for me, unless I maybe did a little tiny bit each one's Arians, but I can't see me having a bet really.
Okay. So gin pate, herring roll mops for John on this one, but he makes a very good point. Potter Purva by Invincible Spirit probably wouldn't have acted on the ground. The Mother Sophinas, limited career, but she I don't think, remembering her, I don't think she'd have gone heavy.
Yeah,
And so Potter Purva's interesting, but me and John are both confused by Kingscote taking the ride on Ville de Grace, who, remember, was fifth in a Fred Darling, wasn't 2.5 lengths behind Alcohol Free, Statement, Vadream, Prima Baccia. That's like good form. It's fair in Phillies terms. That's pretty decent on what's on offer. But it's me and John are a little bit confused because we thought Kingscote, who rode Potter Purva last time, would have been on Potter Purva. But there we go.
Ville de Grace is adding nothing, though, is there? I mean, in real terms, I mean, she had her tips out for everybody to have a look at back in the school. There's nothing new to say, really, so you couldn't be thinking about her for this.
No, Ville de Grace has had her double D's out already, according to John, sir. It's a shame, but he did like Potter Purva, but he doesn't like the jockey. And I agree, Pat Dobbs, I think, is bloody awful. But there we go. Sorry, we can't do any better on Sandown. Can we do better on the York card tomorrow? Obviously, we know the problems with the weather, but we kick off with the 150 race. It's the Strensel Stakes, a Group 3 event, very valuable affair. One of my favourite horses at the moment, Real World, is a blogger zone at 5-4 with him and the Stallion. Actually flexing the muscles now, thinking, is this the one? Is this the lift it with Marco Gianni in the saddle? John, I'll come to you first on this.
Well, the thing is, I mean, I'm worried which muscle the Stallion might be flexing. We've been hearing all sorts this week, and none of it good. I couldn't really put anything up to bait this on the prevailing ground. However, if we did get a bit of rain, I think things could change quite dramatically because they've already taken this out once on account of ground.
They have, yeah.
Rightly so, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So the best thing I can advise on this race is a weather watch, to be honest. I think if the ground is as described, I suppose 5-4 wouldn't be too bad. I couldn't say May taking it, to be honest, but if anybody was wanting to bet it at 5-4, as long as the ground's right, I couldn't really put you off. But if the ground went, I think that might be a different story.
Totally concur with that. That'd be my angle as well, John. I'll be waiting. I mean, obviously being in York's an advantage. So I'll be literally like watching, leaving it as late as we possibly can. If that ground is going to be still on top by we get to purse time or at least good or better, then Real World would be a serious bet for me at 5-4. I think he's absolutely different class. Andy, thoughts here?
Much the same as you two, really. I mean, they had the choice of Real World and Bedouin Story, Godolphin. They've actually made a bit of a habit of winning this race, haven't they? They've won it seven of the last 17 run-ins since it got an upgrade. They haven't had any representation in any of the last 3 run-ins. They also won it back in 1995. Would you believe? I mean, on official figures, the Hunt Cup winner is, I wouldn't say he's chucked in, but he's got a big advantage here over Lord Glitters and My Oberon. He's £1 better than on official ratings than Lord Glitters, £2 better than my Oberon, and he gets £7 and £3 for them respectively. I suppose you have to respect Lord Glitters. O'Mara's had a good record in this, and the horse did win it 3 years ago. But if it stayed on top, I'd be a little bit worried about him coming from off the pace again, and he's not getting any younger, is he? Really? I mean, the real danger is it's a bit obvious this, but My Oberon, isn't he? He's a course winner. He's been operating at Group 1 level, but he is dropping in class. I just have to watch the ground here, wouldn't you? I think if it went a bit softer, My Oberon would be fine. It's not a race I'd want to I personally, even if it stayed on top, I'm not a punter at 5-4, and I'm not a layer either. It'd be a race I'd probably want to just stay out of, to be honest with you. But I wouldn't be putting anyone off Real World if the ground does stay as it is at the moment. You are on weather watch for this, but I think I'll take my poison later on in the card in the shape of some very tricky handicaps. But this might be a bit easier. But I'll leave the 5-4 to everyone else.
Good stuff. You'll leave it to me because I'll be busting my way through that queue. I'll be knocking Blogger and Stallion out of the way for the 5-4, and they can have the evens when it's gone evens. When we're staying on the top of the ground side for Real World, I think this is a very, very good animal. Really is. The way this absolutely pinched Derab off at Newbury. Derab had got the race in the bag, but he didn't just beat Derab. He pulled a length and a quarter clear. It really is a good horse. It's improved. So yeah, very keen on it. So we move on to the 225. It is one of my favourite races of the year. There's a lot of people that like this race. The Melrose, a handicap for 3-year-olds, basically the Ebor for 3-year-olds. And just before we come on to this, chaps, this is where, for the Ebor itself, I mentioned this to John a bit back, Andy. I was in favour of maybe for the Ebor having maybe the 2 or 3 top rated 3-year-olds allowed to race in the Ebor, just to add the spice to the Ebor, if you like.
I'd be with that. I think it's a great shame that you haven't got 3-year-olds in the Ebor. It adds a little bit more. It almost becomes, and we'll come on to this later, if you look at the weights now for the Ebor, it's a very compressed handicap, isn't it? And it'd be hard to say that there's much that is ahead of the handicapper there. There might be a few that are slightly well in, but you wouldn't say they're miles ahead. And there are a few plots and gambles in there potentially, but it does lack a little bit of, especially at this time of the year with the argument, if you want to use that word, about weight for age, etc., etc. Do 3-year-olds get too much? Have they got the experience for a big field like this? So it would add a little bit more spice to it. I think it does take it away, but in the end, by the same token, you end up with a very, very. You could argue that this is actually more competitive than the Ebor.
Yeah,
this is a real puzzle.
Yeah, these are the future. Well, the Ebor stroke staying handicappers of the future, and the Melrose is getting better and better as well. John, what is your choice for the Melrose? Are you keen on anything or strong on anything in this?
Well, one of my strongest bits of the week, if you cast your mind back, was Surrey Gold of Huey's.
That's right. It's in your selections, yeah.
And I have been a little bit concerned that the ground might have quickened up a bit too much for it, but given the weather forecast, I'm not really inclined to jump ship too much. That said, I am very conscious of the fact that the shagging shirt's running an ace horse in this, and I'm probably going to cover both bases, I would think.
Yeah. So Surrey Gold and Dushan as your cover. Don't you think though? Would it be a negative soft ground for Dushan, John? Not.
I can't see it getting soft enough to impede the horse by post time. We're always thinking in the dark a little bit, but I think as long as it's maybe just the slower side of goodbye, then I don't think that'll be an issue, especially because we'll come stand side and they'll use fresh ground, because it won't take much to make the jockeys come across, I don't think. I don't think they'll wait until it's bottomless, if you know what I mean. I think once they start thinking it's getting wet, I think I'll start fishing around a bit.
Yeah. I'm in agreement with you that Dushan is the right one for me. It's priced accordingly, and I will be having a little bit on Dushan. One I'm looking at for the ground is Tashkam, for the simple reason that the placing by Brian last time was absolutely stupid. I had absolutely no idea why they went for that small field Pontefract 2 mile race. Where they just went an absolute crawl. I mean, what you've just won big field handicaps, and what is the point? You may as well not have ran there and come straight to the Melrose. I mean,
Yeah.
But I don't think the good thing is I don't think it had an hard race or anything. It was just literally a sprint for 3 furlongs. It was like a racecourse gallop. And Harry Russell takes the 3 off. And I think this one is capable of landing a big race for Brian. 16 to 1 I thought was interesting. So Tashcan, if the rain gets in, Tashcan I shall be it'll be on my menu as well as Dushan for the shagging shirt. Andy.
Well, you know where I'm going. So
absolutely. Yes.
For a fair old while. I mean,
yes.
And he's been. Haggis has won this race in twice in the last 9 years. In fact, Dushan's been sent off favourite in all his 5 starts. I sort of can share the concerns about the ground, but I don't think unless we have an absolute deluge. And that's going to, we are going to be in sort of la land with a lot of them then, because there ain't a lot of soft ground form around. My one concern is that he'll need to settle a little bit better over this longer trip. He can be a little bit keen, but he was staying on very well last time out. Again, the slight concern is, haven't been that many have come from miles off the pace this week, and if they get rolling in front at York, they can sometimes get away from you. But
I think there's plenty of pace on Andy.
Yeah, I think we're all right. Yeah, I think I'm okay. And I just think he probably 7 to 1. We sort of around 7 to 1 on Betfair. Tashcan is another one I've certainly got on my list. I've liked this horse all year. I write a column elsewhere and pick this one out ages ago when he'd won when he won handicaps, and like you guys, I mean, I couldn't understand why he was running in a 4-runner race, and a very tactical 4-runner race around Pontefract last time out, especially when he wasn't even ridden. If you'd have ridden him from the front, which probably wouldn't have been ideal, he might have had half a chance in that, because it's been a front runner's paradise around Pontefract this year. He's actually better off at the weights with Summer Knight, who's actually won twice since for beating him at Haydock. So if you like that one, you're going to have to like Tashcan as well. There's a few other sort of lurkers in there. I mean, horses like King of the Castle is obviously interesting for Aidan and the lads. There's a bit of money around for him. And the other one I quite like is for the Balding Yard, Valley Forge. They won it last year with Coltrane. It was a pretty weak maiden he won last time out, but he's up in trip for his handicap debut. I think there's a fair bit of improvement to come. He actually only made his racecourse debut back in May. And Coltrane, who won this last year for the Balding Yard, he made a late start to his career as well. So they know what they're doing with this type, and there's a bit of money around for him. So Dushan very much would be my number one, but I shall certainly be, especially if there's a bit of precipitation around, then be it back in Tashcan and Valley Forge as well.
Good stuff, Andy. So very interesting Melrose. Good luck with your bets in that. Very competitive. And as always, keep your eye on that rainfall early tomorrow. We go to the 3 o'clock at York. It's the City of York Stakes. Again, hats off here. Tremendous prize money. £200,000 added for the Group 2 affair. £120,000 for the winner. And Space Blues heads the market at 11.08 for Will Buick and Charlie Appleby. John?
I can't really offer anything other than I think Space Blues will win if the ground stays as it is.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
What? I mean, is he fine on soft ground in your opinion? Could he handle like really soft ground?
I wouldn't want to back him on soft ground.
No. I mean, he's handled. Yeah. He's handled a little bit of cut before. I can remember when he beat Safe Voyage at Haydock. I mean, it wasn't like soft or anything, but
No,
they want
York, and you want everything right, I think, if you're at York, and if everything's not right, I certainly wouldn't want to be taking 11 away.
Yeah. Again, Provisio's. I mean, this is it. Space Blues, obviously best horse. Doesn't Stall One put you off, John?
No, because he can travel. He's fine from there, and Bjork can do what he wants there.
Yeah. But again, it could if they come in Stan's Rail by then, which
if it's wet enough for him to come stand stairs, I'm not involved anyway.
Yeah, it becomes a lay, I think, then, because Stall One, if it stands rail, he's got to use some petrol up, or he's got to drop in and switch, and I think then that's where you'll probably see a big drift if it is a deluge and it is soft. This is where we're going to have to work it out. So we're trying to put punters onto an angle. I'd be laying Space Blues on soft, or it's really getting in. From Stall One, because they're definitely going to come stand side, I would think. Andy, thoughts?
Again, sorry, sort of boring, but it's sort of the same thing, and it really want to sort of keep you power. I mean, the one thing I would say to add to the comments of Space Blue, I think he probably is just about the best 7 furlongs in Europe, or in Europe last season. But injury that ruled him out of the foray last year, didn't it? I did think last time out that his usual burst of speed in the Lennox Stakes, the soft ground just sort of blunted his speed a bit, and that's where you're going with your arguments for tomorrow. I mean, he's a Group 1 winner over a slightly shorter distance. The problem you've got is, I suppose, the main rival is Primo Bassio, and she's actually been supplemented into this Group 2. Now, she ran on soft ground at Deauville, and that was against her as well. So you've got the front two in the market who would have a bit of a question mark if it did turn out to be, really soft as well. She's got some decent form, but again, the soft ground. I mean, I think if it really did pour down, you'd probably have a punt on Safe Voyage, wouldn't you? I mean, if you watch the race at Goodwood, he actually anticipated the start. He headbutted the stalls in that, and that probably explains the poor run there. I mean, he won this last year. He can still win on good ground, but I don't think he can beat these on good ground. But if it did go really soft, I could see at least there being a market move for him, and that might be a way of playing it. Most of the others, you're sort of a bit on a wing and a prayer. Highfield Princess would go on the ground. Sabuska, I mean, he's much better at Ascot, isn't he? And he's not found he's run some good races, but they're almost races which I think he sort of picked up the pieces in. If you look at since he's running stakes races, I mean, he's got a lot of placings, second, fourth, third, seventh, seconds. He's not actually run over 7 furlongs since he ran in the Bunbury Cup last year, when he probably threw that race away against Mutakael by hanging, and he was also just held in the Clipper Logistics last year on good going. So if it stays good, then I would be with Space Blues over Primo Bassio. If there is appreciable rain, and it would need to be appreciable rain, I might try a small trade on Safe Voyage, and I would think that you would because he's a well-known soft ground horse, or a horse with a predilection for soft ground, that there would be a move in the market for Safe Voyage. Obviously, if Space Blues and Primo Bassio are moving out in an outward direction. So it's a sort of a bit of a wait and see. But again, it's probably a bit like John. It's not a race I want to get too involved with.
Indeed. I mean, like you say, it's the right thing to do. Keep your eyes on the weather, and like you say, Safe Voyage has drifted at the moment because obviously they're anticipating fast ground, or that's how the market speaks at the moment. It's drifted out to 14-1. It won't be 14-1 if the heavens open. So these are little angles as a punter that you can sort of keep your eyes and ears peeled in the morning. And obviously try and reap the value as the events happen. Right, we move on to our final race of this preview, and it is the big one. It's the Sky Bet Ebor, and your horse, Andy, which we chatted about this yesterday. Hamish for the shagging shirt and Tom Marquand is now a clear 13-2 favourite, and also the other one you mentioned yesterday, which was Mount Leinster, which was sort of that's now 20s into 8-1, a big gamble with this potential rain forecast. Do you want to start us off with this, Andy? What do you think now?
Well, I've got lots of thoughts. Well, I'm already on Hamish at bigger prices, so that's I think that's sort of fair enough, and we did sort of say that on Tuesday. I think the first thing you want to sort of have a look at is I'm sure there'll be lots of talk about the draw. Now, 12 of the last 14 winners were from double-figure stalls. In fact, 14 to 22 fared particularly well. So I'm sure there'll be some chat about that tomorrow, and someone will be trying to tell us that it's not true. But that's where we come from there. I think that you've got to look at that. I mean, Haggis has got 4 in here, but Hamish is he's 2 from 2 here. He was actually a leading fancy for this last year as a 4-year-old, and then injury ruled him out. He's won the Melrose here. He also won another handicap here straight after that, and then ended that 2019 season. He was only beaten a neck by Trushan, when he was odds on to beat Trushan, actually. And since then, we've seen him once when he was 4th in last season's Hardwick. It would be some training performance to pull this off, but you've got to remember that Mr. Haggis also won a Derby once with a seasonal debutant as well. As we discussed I think at fair length yesterday, we would put him right at the top of the training tree. I certainly would. Think he's a superb trainer. Whether you can argue now whether sort of 7-1, I'm sort of looking at 8.4, 8.6 on Betfair at the moment, whether that is any value. You can argue your way around that one, but I think he's got a decent chance. The Irish Challenge I would take seriously. I think you have to take them seriously. There are 4 Irish runners. Interesting that Mullins he had 8 entered in this. He has actually done over the Saldier anti-post punters by withdrawing the horse rather than leaving it in to be balloted out. He's done them over. He's done them over there. But I think you've got to look at this. I mean, they've done well in this. The Irish. They've had 4 winners, including a 1-2 in 2009. They haven't had that many runners in it. All their winners have come at double-figure odds, so don't be frightened of the bigger price ones. Although people seem to be latching onto them. They've supplied a second and 2/3 in the last 6 years. And Mount Leinster is actually the only one of the Mullins octet that he had entered left now. So take of that. He hasn't run since he won back-to-back conditions races on soft ground. What was it, last autumn? So if the ground does go soft, there's a pointer to him. I'm not sure the absence of is going to be a problem. I think you've got to pay respect to the Johnny Murtagh duo as well. Miran and Sonny Boy Liston. I think the ride Miran got at Royal Ascot was horrible, to be quite honest with you. And Sonny Boy Liston has actually had a little bit of a recce over here. He was 6th in that Silver Cup behind Hookham over course and distance last month. So they sort of, I wonder whether that was a little bit of a reconnoitre as well. So, and I wouldn't write off Shanro either for the Carl Thornton yard. He won the Curragh sort of Irish trial for this. He's drifted to a big price. I wouldn't, rule him out. So I think you've got to respect the Irish tomorrow. Of the Irish, I think I'd probably now at the prices keep one of the Murtagh duo on side, and that's probably Sonny Boy Liston, ridden by the lad who gave Moran not a great ride at Royal Ascot, but I'll forgive him that because he's run pretty well since, and he's drawn in stall 14. Of the British runners, or the GB runners, apart from Hamish, you've got to have a look at I suppose you might need to have a look at the other Haggis runners in here. He's got the Escobar duo. And Illarab. I think Illarab's probably got a little bit too much weight. And one, because we do like a stat, Mr. the Slim Shady and Senior Slim Shady are running Humanitarian in this. Of course, he was 7th in the Derby last year. He won a handicap, ended up winning a handicap for them at the end. Gosden's won this before in 2018. if you look at, and he wears a first-time hood now, Gosden, 2014, in first-time hooded runners in handicaps since 2014, I should say, 17 from 49. If you look at this, if you look at the stats behind that, if I can drift into some stats for a minute, it's if you look at that, if his winners above expected price, he's a positive figure of 8.84, so he's exceeding, he's outperforming the market. And if you'd have backed them all, you'd be 89 points up. So it wouldn't surprise me to see Humanitarian run a good race tomorrow for that. But it is I'd probably try and avoid the really top weights in this. So to sum it all up, my main choice is obviously Hamish, but I'll certainly be taking a look at Sonny Boy Liston and probably Humanitarian as well. And I might just slip a couple of quid on that Shanro. That looks like the forgotten Irishman. And we know not to forget big price Irish runners in handicaps this side of the water.
Great analysis, Andy. Some cracking stuff for you there. If you fancy sort of any of those horses mentioned by Andy in this, with good stats to back it up. I'm a Hamish fan. Obviously the price isn't the best. I think Haggis he's so shrewd. He could have had a prep for this. He could have turned up, say, in the Geoffrey Fair or somewhere just to give it a prep. But I think this will be primed. And I'm a big Hamish fan. If the price can hold a bit, maybe we'll see what it's like on the exchanges tomorrow. I'll be looking to back Hamish if possible. John, I know you've got something really interesting at a price for this race.
Well, it depends what your class is really interesting. I've been banging on about this horse intermittently to yourself for about 6 weeks, something like that. So as with any good story, it probably pays to start at the beginning. Back when this was a 2-year-old, he finished his season off in the Zetland Stakes at Newmarket, where he beat a horse of Gosden's called Miss Yoda. I had him running to 111 that day, and that was slightly against what the BHA thought. They gave him 110. The horse in question is Max Vega, trained by Rafe and Ralph. Those horses are in fantastic nick at the moment. Everything they run looks in glorious order. Really have got their horses well at the minute. He started his 3-year-old season in what's probably a loosely termed Derby trial at Kempton. Wasn't run to suit. He started off out the back. It was a complete write-off. Then if you want complete write-offs, go to Epsom for Serpentine's Derby, where again he sat at the back. You'd have thought he'd been subbed out to Dave Simcock, really. Then he ran in the Geoffrey Freer, believe it or not. Yeah. And he was 2.5 lengths behind Hookham. And Hookham wasn't at the stage where it's Hookham, let's back Hookham. He wasn't regarded as the horse he is now, but we were 2.5 lengths behind him. An excellent run, I thought, and the BHA thought the same. They put him up to 109. He ran a 1 mile 7 on heavy at Longchamp. The race again wasn't run to suit, it was a crawl. He then ran over 2 miles on what was described as soft. It was probably barely raceable at Ascot at the back end. He looked terrible before the race. He clearly trained off. And he ran like a horse that had trained off. He was 50 to 1 anyway. But the thing that really caught my eye was the run back this July. 6.5 lengths behind Hookham. It was a complete float up at this place. Yeah. Nothing but. This horse is open to improvement on that form. He was rated 109 that day. He runs off 106 here. It can piss down from now till Kingdom Come for all I care. If this horse gets some rain, he's bang there because he'll get the ride that's required and he'll act on the track and the ground.
lovely jubbly. 33 to 1 available for Max Vega. Keep your eye on the weather because I know John will be. And as long as he gets a little bit, and yeah, I think like John, you'd be happy with Max Vega on good to soft, wouldn't you?
Slow side of good, it'd be fine.
Yeah, it'd be fine. Yeah. So there you go, folks. John kept his eye on this for a while. 33 to 1 Max Vega. Just before we finish the show, I'd just like to mention Nick Davis has been on. And Nick's a very good judge. I've mentioned this before. He's been a guest once before. He's had a busy week, so he's been unable to come on in any capacity. But he's mentioned 2 for tomorrow. And I reckon here, John, that Nick's been doing the shops because Mount Leinster, as long as the ground was softer than good, Nick Davis, this was a nap, and it's 20s into 8s. I reckon Nick's been round.
It's all over, isn't it?
Yeah. This is Davis style. The London betting shops, £20 a shop. He's probably got himself a monkey each way on by now, hasn't Nick? And he's smashed the prices in. But Mount Leinster was his Ebor choice, and also he was very keen tomorrow. As long as the ground was on the easy side again, he says, for Quada that relished the step up to trip over 10 furlongs at Goodwood last time. He said 3-year-olds have won the last 2 runnings of this. He said he basically likes this horse from a progression point of view, and I do as well because it was very impressive over the 10 at Goodwood. So Quada and Mount Leinster and Nick's naps for tomorrow, and he's probably weirded in already on Mount Leinster. He's greedy like that, isn't he? So thanks for that, Nick Davis, for checking in there. Right, I think that's all from us, gents.
Before we finish, Lee, can we put a little bit of a shout out to one of the good guys in the media, Tony Calvin, who he's not too well at the moment, and I think we all want to wish Tony a very, very speedy recovery. There's not enough people of his ilk in the racing media, and we certainly can't spare the likes of him.
Excellent shout, John. That is. I was lucky enough to work with Tony for several years at Betfair. Always very helpful, and I agree. A man who backs his opinions, sometimes strong, and you don't always agree with, but he does back them up. And I know Tony is not too well at the moment, and I can, personally, and from through other people as well, I can only wish him the best. I did send him a personal message this week, and I just hope I hope he gets better because, as you say, John, he is certainly one of the good guys of the racing media, and we could do with more like him.
Definitely.
Absolutely, really fitting words there, guys, and yeah, really, really, really well said. So, yeah, get well, Tony. It's a really, really testing time for Tony and his family, I bet, at the moment, and it's very sad when things like this happen. So we're back on Sunday for a Sunday sermon. I think it's just me and John this Sunday, though we may be able to wangle somebody else in before then. But yeah, anyway, who's willing to do it? But we hope you enjoyed the show today. Myself, John, and Andy's had a great week. We've enjoyed each other's company, and we hope you enjoyed this show tonight. So that's all from the 3 of us. Bye for now.